Sometimes I think 343 Industries gets way more criticism than they probably actually deserve. I mean, we've been quick to criticize 343 in the past, and it's just because we like Halo games. We want them to be the best that they can be. But we shouldn't necessarily always undermine the good things that have come from Halo because of things that 343 Industries has done. So despite some of our issues and criticisms we might have had in the past, seriously, why'd you guys ever get rid of black undersuits? They were so cool. We wanted to take a moment and appreciate some of the awesome things that 343 Industries have brought to Halo over the years. So let's go all the way back to when Bungie first left Halo and things were then handed over to 343 Industries. One really interesting thing that Bungie and Halo Reach got a lot of criticism for back when the game came out, and we've talked about this and why some people hated Halo Reach video we did a while back, was a lot of people weren't a fan of the bloom that was on the DMR and other precision weapons. Interestingly enough, during the downtime when 343 took over from Bungie and before Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary release, they actually worked on a title update that would be implemented into the game that allowed players to choose in custom game lobbies, and there was even matchmaking lobbies including this game type that would have a reduced bloom or zero bloom completely, which allowed for more classic type of arena Halo gameplay. Honestly, it was something they didn't have to do, but it was kind of a cool thing that they added in for quality of life, and it's not like they completely removed the original thing either. They just implemented this as an option to appeal to more players. It was also kind of cool that Microsoft assigned 343 Industries as their first project to go back to Halo Combat Evolved and do a remaster of the game. But with that, while it was kind of controversial that they didn't remaster the multiplayer, they did add a lot of really awesome classic maps in a large DLC form for Halo Reach, and all these years later, with Reach being on MCC, it's cool to have more maps that we can experience. And I think you can actually take the time that they spent revamping Halo CE for the remaster as kind of time where they explored what made Halo work at the beginning, and you can almost see a lot of those feelings of exploration and solidarity make their way into Halo 4's campaign, especially in the first couple of levels. And I'll be honest, for the most part, not the biggest fan of Halo 4. Halo 4 really ended up being something that I just could not really get into, even though I wanted to like it. But you also have to take a look at it from 343 Industries' perspective. They had to come into Halo and try to fill the boots of a game developer who had made one of the most popular games of all time, and somehow find a way to make a game that somehow feels like it's one-upping everything that had been done in the past. And at least they did present some really new and unique ideas and locales that we had never seen before, like what they introduced with exploring Forerunner technology and the introduction of Prometheans. Sure, they're a little weird looking, they got the weird glow thing going on, but to go as far as introducing a brand new enemy faction into Halo, something that had never been done before, it did really lead to Halo 4 kind of having a fresh start feeling for players who jumped into the game, as you're kind of experiencing enemies you've never even fought against before. Still, I would pick the Covenant or the Flood 10 times over fighting the Prometheans, but it was a unique addition to say the least. And also, you can really appreciate some of the skyboxes that went into Halo 4. There's a few places where you're kind of just in awe. It's like they took concept art and brought it to life by painting this larger than life skybox, and that's kind of neat, especially since Halo 4 is a little more controversial when it comes to game design philosophy, especially aesthetic design. I do not like the way Master Chief looks. So I'm able to give them credit for making some really awesome locales in some of the places, and also they did a really great job making a lot of the human characters look realistic. I mean, look at Halo 3 all of these years later and then compare it to some of the cutscenes from Halo 4. There's a pretty big difference in how the people look. Even comparing Halo Reach to Halo 4 still conquers all. Also, we can't forget the great redesign to Cortana. Now all of those Halo fans can really just go nuts because Cortana has toes. I'm sure one sweaty Halo Cortana feet fan got absolutely hyped when they saw the redesign for Cortana. Yikes. And while Halo 4 has its list of problems we've talked about here, I do genuinely think somewhere buried deep underneath the surface of this super shiny aesthetic game, and a game where weapon loadouts were pushed in favor of gameplay, there is a good Halo game game in there. In multiplayer, some of the gunplay feels really nice, and when playing more classic controlled playlists, like what are featured in the Master Chief Collection, Halo 4 can actually be fun to play for a little while. Now, one of the most talked about aspects of Halo 4 was the campaign, which was the first Halo game to really do a deep dive into two of the biggest characters in Halo. But one thing that I haven't really gotten the chance to talk about on this channel is the really interesting parallel of humanity and the duality of man that's kind of showcased through Cortana and the Master Chief, and it's in some sort of character progression that makes sense for Halo as a whole. Like, for instance, back in Halo Combat Evolved, Cortana was charming but rather one-dimensional. In Halo 2, we see a little bit more of Cortana's personality, and we can tell that there's some sort of affinity that they have between Cortana and Chief. They've experienced some stuff together, doing, you know, saving the world type stuff, and then Cortana in Halo 3 has this separation going on, and we see new emotions coming from Cortana, like distress and regret from not being able to be strong enough against the Gravemind. Then when you jump into Halo 4, things might seem a little jarring, as we're definitely introduced to a very different type of Cortana, a character that's had time to grow and reflect after the years of what's happened from Halo 3 into Halo 4. And throughout the course of Halo 4, we actually see one of the most human versions of Cortana that we've ever seen in Halo. And then when you kind of make a parallel between the question of humanity behind this character that is not a human, we see another plot play out throughout Halo 4, where there's this major question as whether or not Master Chief has the capacity to have human emotions. We see the interview with Halsey at the beginning, and they're kind of questioning whether or not Master Chief is fundamentally broken as a human, and that's why he's been able to succeed where no one else could. We do see more of Master Chief's emotion throughout Halo 4, and while it seems like he's battling out his feelings, it seems like actually the main thing he's fighting against is the last thing that's keeping him grounded in humanity. And as we get to a conclusion where Cortana finally gets to feel some sort of human type feeling at the end right before she dies, we contrast that with a Master Chief who is fundamentally broken, and the cutscene with him having all of the machinery taking off his suit definitely highlights the fact that at the end of the day, Master Chief is just a machine. That's where he's at mentally by the time Halo 4 rolls around. Like, that is some really awesome imagery for a Halo video game. The reason nobody talks about it and no one appreciates it is, of course, because the campaign had all this other random stuff going on that wasn't really important for the universe or for Halo, but that core story was really cool, and we just wanted to highlight that. In Halo 5, we continue to see characters that came from the Halo 4 storyline. We see more of this mysterious Cortana, which we don't fully understand yet, and similarly, even though we barely saw Master Chief in Halo 5, he is still kind of this broken Master Chief who has a disregard for other people. I mean, he just made all of his other Spartan buddies go AWOL with him, not worrying about what repercussions they could face. So we hope that in one regard or another, they're going to somewhat do something with that character development into Halo Infinite into the future, because it actually is one of the most interesting things 343's done. All right, getting away from campaign, can we talk about how awesome conceptually the Master Chief Collection was when that initially announced? I remember E3 2014, I was absolutely hyped for that announcement that all the Halo games, except Rest in Peace Reach, would be available on the Xbox One in just a couple of months. Now, obviously, Xbox had been kind of having a really rough time PR-wise, and sales were not good for the Xbox One in the early years. And likely what we believe is that the heads at Microsoft kind of made it clear to 343 they need to get this game out no matter what by November. They needed the big holiday push, and unfortunately it caused a lot of things to happen where the MCC was released in an absolute mess of a state, and it's likely 343 Industries was not allowed to talk about it ahead of time. It was definitely probably something caused by Microsoft, but at the end of the day, 343 stapled their name all across the game, and with a mix of them likely having to outsource several different developing companies to make this game even hit a release date of that year, and the fact that they're trying to work in Bungie's code, which is likely some sort of really confusing spaghetti code. I mean, just look at our Halo 2 playing as a grunt video. The code that goes into Halo is not necessarily the most straightforward thing ever. It wasn't necessarily a successful launch, but the concept of it, the idea of having all the campaigns and all the multiplayers just playable on one platform and a matchmaking service that lets you just switch between seamlessly all of the Halo games was really cool. Halo 2 Anniversary was absolutely gorgeous in the remaster. They brought blur in to do all the cutscenes, and they actually made textures for Halo 2 that kind of fit the aesthetic of Halo 2. They didn't just reuse Halo Reach assets like they did with Combat Evolved Anniversary. A lot of people really liked the way Halo 2 Anniversary looked. And then, of course, while there was a long period of just nothing happening from MCC, they did do a lot of massive overhauls in the years leading up to the PC re-release of the MCC games. And that's another thing we should appreciate, the fact that Halo is finally back on PC again, on Steam, easily accessible for players to jump on and play. We wish the whole thing would have released at once, but it's been really cool to see Reach finally added to MCC on Xbox and PC at 60 frames per second, and of course Halo Combat Evolved jumping in on that too. This is hopefully going to be something that builds up a lot of hype to reignite the Halo community once Halo Infinite rolls around. And yeah, the MCC is so much better now, even though we're not going to go ahead and say that the game is perfect. We still run into bugs on a very regular basis where a game will either crash or some sort of error happens or just the user interface is just frozen for a long time, but it's definitely not as bad as it once was, and the game, you can at least, navigate it a bit. Also, as a video game achievement hunter like myself who really likes to just get my gamer score up when I can, the Master Chief Collection is so awesome just with how many achievements are available. Besides a lot of classic achievements being brought back, there's just a ton of things to do in MCC, and it's just this mountain of achievements that you can go for, but none of them, other than maybe some of the lasso ones, seem like a completely unachievable goal, and it's very possible for you to go through and get every single achievement in the Master Chief Collection. And then after the release of MCC, we did see Halo 5 release, and honestly the first few weeks were really fun. A lot of people, including myself, did get burnt out after a couple of weeks of that, but man, did they do a lot with Halo 5 to expand the sandbox available within Halo. Seriously, Forge in Halo 5 was bigger than better. The possibilities were really much larger than anything we had seen before. There's so many more vehicles and weapons in this game, and the different variations of vehicles and weapons were also really well welcomed. Now, they also fixed a lot of the Promethean weapons, which were just the worst thing ever in Halo 4, and made them good. And Halo 5 did a decent job across the board balancing weapons, especially because of the wide variety of weapon adaptations. They also kind of added some jokes here and there. There's some items you can spawn in Forge, because why not? They also released a short anime on the fall of Reach to promote Halo 5, which is actually pretty well done considering it's an adaptation of the book. And more lately, we've seen 343 doing an awesome job hiring people from the Halo community to work on their games and come up with ideas for the future of Halo. It's cool to see fans working on Halo, which is kind of the way it probably should be. This led to things like the Mythic playlist in Halo 5, which was a more back to basic arena game type, which was really fun and actually kind of captures that classic Halo feel while also incorporating some of the newer elements without necessarily making it feel like a different game. And some of the levels and layouts in Halo 5's multiplayer look absolutely gorgeous, especially considering they continued to go on with the art style established in Halo 4. Now, when Halo Wars 2 rolled around, while 343 wasn't as involved in that game, it does seem like the aesthetic for this game was kind of more focused on what it was like in Halo 2 Anniversary, considering the people who made the cutscenes for Halo Wars 2 also worked on Halo 2 Anniversary. It makes sense, but it did show a shift in the art direction for Halo moving forward. And while honestly our opinions on Halo Infinite are pretty limited because we really don't know anything about the game until we actually see gameplay itself, it seems like from a marketing perspective, the 343 Industries marketing team knows exactly what fans are wanting, and they're showcasing that in the marketing material for Halo Infinite. We still gotta hold our breath because marketing has kind of thrown us off before when it comes to Halo, but we're optimistic about the future, the art style, and the appreciation that 343 has held with the future of the franchise. So what do you guys think of 343 Industries? What do you think the best thing that they brought to the series was? But hey, if you liked this video, can you take a quick moment first? Double check you are in fact subscribed down below with notifications on. It helps us out a lot. We get to do more stuff like this, and that's cool. Also, if you want to talk with us on Twitter, you can follow me at Rocket Elijah, and you can also follow Luke at Rocket Sloth Luke. So feel free to follow us on there and communicate with us a bit. We would kind of appreciate it. But otherwise, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all next time.